the SoundCloud era, a time in rap that lasted from 2015 to 2019 that really showcased a new wave of artists and things we never seen like face tats and hair dye. And the free platform was really an opportunity for artists to showcase their music and was a time where many artists had the peak of their music careers, but also did birth the careers of a lot of the most popular rap artists that we know today. My name is Amchann and let's look at the rappers who escaped the SoundCloud era. And now starting with Playboi Carti, born in 1996 in Atlanta, Carti wouldn't start making music till he was 15 years old, dropping his mixtape High Chronicles, at the time where his name was Sir Cartier, and then followed by another mixtape, Young Misfits, that next year, and then changed his artist name to Playboi Carti. And that decision would be absolutely life-changing, as in 2014, after meeting the producer Ethereal, he actually would join Awful Records. And Carti still credits Ethereal for helping him find his sound. And Carti then chose to pursue music full-time, moving to New York City, as he did stay at a drug dealer's house, which members of the ASAP mob frequently visited. And this is where Carti ran into ASAP Bari, who then introduced him to ASAP Rocky. And Carti and Rocky got even closer as he moved to Texas, dropping songs like Broke Boy and Fetty, to this day being absolute SoundCloud classics. And around this time, Carti would also frequently collaborate with artists such as Thousand Man Fani, Uno the Activist, Young Bands, and Lil Yachty, and he then began to go on tour with ASAP Ferg and Lil Uzi, which would further boost his popularity, and did lead to Carti signing with Interscope Records. And in 2016, Carti would then be featured on ASAP Mob's Cozy Tape Volume 1, and that same year, he'd actually get signed to ASAP Mob's Og imprint. And the next year, after a long wait, Carti would drop his first mixtape / album, self-titled, reaching 12 on the Billboard 200, and also had 2 successful singles like Magnolia and Woke Up Like This. And Carti then released his second album that next year, Dial It, in 2018, and would get pretty mixed reviews when it actually first dropped, but then grew on many like Whole Lotta Red, which we will get into. And when Dial It dropped, many classics came out of this album, like Long Time and Shooter, and Carti would then go on to her first album, be featured on songs like Chief Keef's and Lil Yachty's Get Dripped, but he would then be seen teasing a new album called Whole Lotta Red. For the next 2 years, numerous songs would leak, as we actually would get many empty promises and lies from Carti, but nothing would really drop until April 2020, that obviously being Atma. And Carti would then be featured on Drake's Pain 1993, which actually was Carti's first top 10 on the Billboard. And as months would pass, towards the end of 2020, Carti would get super active, rolling out his album Whole Lotta Red, as he would completely change his aesthetic to what fans have never seen before, as what we know today as the vampire aesthetic. And Carti would then drop the album on Christmas 2020, and was hated at first, as it was something new that Carti fans were not used to. And as it's been 4 years since Whole Lotta Red dropped, man, me personally, bro, I'm definitely getting bored of this album. And I'm pretty sure all of us are ready for a new Carti album. These past 2 months, Carti has dropped 5 singles as we get closer and closer to his album, I Am Music. Definitely the most anticipated album to drop from any artist in 2024. And while Carti has gained such a big cult following, this man is at 40 million monthly listeners without dropping in 4 years. But all this wouldn't be possible without Lil Uzi Vert. Now, Uzi began to rap as early as 2010, but he wouldn't drop his first project until 2014 with an EP called Purple Thoughts Volume 1. But following this EP, he actually would gain attention from the producer and co-founder of Atlantic Records, Don Cannon. And Cannon would then produce Uzi's first mixtape, The Real Uzi, and after this, he actually would sign a rec label with Atlantic Records. And he would then have a lot of big features with artists like ASAP Ferg and Durk, and drop many songs produced by Metro. And the next year, Uzi would drop his second mixtape, Love Is Rage, which further boosted his popularity, leading to him being called the biggest breakout artist of 2015. And in 2016 would be a huge year for Uzi, first dropping the single Money Longer on his SoundCloud, to this day being one of his most popular songs. He would also drop his mixtape Lil Uzi Vert the World, which actually was Uzi's first entry on the charts. And later that year, he actually would go on XXL, being a part of that legendary class, and drop his Perfect Love tape as well as his collab tape with Gucci Mane. And in late 2016, he actually would announce his album Love Is Rage 2, which went on a series of delays in typical Uzi fashion. Bad and Bougie would also drop, which became Uzi's first #1 single. That next year, 2017, would be a huge year for Uzi, dropping Love Is Rage 1.5, going on tour with The Weeknd, dropping EXO Tour Life, to this day his most popular song. And after months of waiting, Love Is Rage 2 would drop. This further boosted Uzi's popularity with songs like Sauce It Up and The Way Life Goes. Also, this year would be the first time Uzi teased the collab project with Carti, 1629, which to this day has not dropped. And 2018 would also be a pretty quiet year for Uzi, being the same year he announced Eternal Take, but he would drop his iconic single New Paddock later that year. And 2019 would come around, again a pretty quiet year. He actually would sign with Roc Nation, and would drop singles like Sanguine Paradise and That's a Rack, as well as Futsal Shuffle being the first single off Eternal Take, which would then drop next year in March, being to this day his most iconic album announcement. I think all of us remember where we were when EA dropped, man. That next week, Uzi would drop the deluxe Lil Uzi Vert vs. The World 2, and also would drop his collab tape with Future later that year. That next year, Uzi would announce a completely different album, Pink Tape, and was teased all throughout 2022, but wouldn't drop until June 2023, being probably my favorite album of that year, even though it actually is hated by many because of how experimental it was. But regardless, personally, man, I think it has no misses. As of now, Uzi has announced his next album, Love Is Rage 3, which is apparently his last album before he actually does retire, which I hope is not the case, but Uzi has become an absolute SoundCloud legend. But you know who else is a SoundCloud legend? Trippie Redd.
Hey guys, smoke a wood. in the woods on some wood.
Born in Canton, Ohio, Trippie was still a teenager when his rap career started. His brother, who actually was an aspiring rapper, had died in a car accident, and this tragedy motivated Trippie to live out his brother's dreams. And he basically began dropping many videos and mixtapes that actually would cause Trippie to gain a little buzz online, which would then land him a deal with Strange Entertainment. But he actually would later sign to his independent label, 10K Project. And he also dropped mixtapes like Beast Mode and Awakening My Inner Beast in 2016 on SoundCloud. And that same year, he actually would drop his hit song, Love Scars, which wouldn't really blow up till 2017 when he actually did drop his debut album, A Love Letter to You, which actually did debut in the top 40 in the Billboard 200. And then at the end of the year, he actually would drop his second breakout single, Dark Knight Demo with Travis Scott, being the first single to his most iconic album, Life's a Trip. And in August of 2018, Life's a Trip would actually drop, having many hit songs like, Taking a Walk, Wish, and of course, The Dark Knight Demo. And then a few months later, in November of 2018, he actually would drop another pretty iconic album, A Love Letter to You 3. Again, having pretty hit songs like Topanga and 1499 Freestyle. And next year, he actually did relocate to LA, and he actually did drop his album Exclamation Mark, which actually did receive a lot of backlash, which is absolutely insane because personally, man, I think there's nothing wrong with this album whatsoever, bro. And in late 2019, he actually would drop my personal favorite album of his, A Love Letter to You 4, which actually did pretty good numbers wise as it sold over 100K in the first week. Then next year in 2020, he actually would drop his long-awaited album Pegasus, which in my opinion is pretty underrated, as many people were not big fans of this project, which I again do not understand. 2021, he actually did drop the deluxe of the album, that being Neon Shark, the rock album. And that same year, he actually would drop his hit single with Carti, Mr. Rage, as a leading single for his album Trip at Night, which in my opinion is a perfect example of a SoundCloud era album, as it includes features like Uzi, Ski Mask, X, Juice, and Carti. And going back to SoundCloud, after Trip at Night, he actually would drop his SoundCloud exclusive mixtape Hate Is Dead. And 2022 would actually be the first year ever Trippie hasn't dropped a project, but he did tease his next album, A Love Letter to You 5. But that actually was pushed back, as in 2023 he actually would drop a whole separate project inspired by Chief Keef's Mansion music called Mansion Music. And now this project wasn't liked by a lot of people just because of how many features and songs it had, but if Trippie had half these songs and mostly solo songs, it would be a lot better. A Love Letter to You 5 would actually then drop in August of 2023, being personally my favorite album of last year. And he would also drop his album Saint Michael late last year, and did tease his next project, Life's a Trip 2, the sequel to his most iconic album. But another artist who has a highly anticipated album to drop this year is none other than Mask the Slump God. Born and raised in Broward County, Mask rose to fame in 2016 amongst many other artists like Lil Pump, Wi-Fi's Funeral, Trippie Redd, and especially XXXTentacion. And he actually was first in jail with X before they even started to make music together. And once they actually both were free, they made multiple tracks together, which did include their breakthrough track, Take a Step Back, and even all the way down to their first track together, Freddy vs. Jason, I Do Believe. And Ski then went to drop many classic hits that actually did gain millions and millions of views on SoundCloud. But it wasn't until Ski Mask dropped his project, You Will Regret, which did contain solo tracks from Ski that really showed off his pure talent by himself, with songs like, for example, Catch Me Outside and Baby Wipe gaining hella popularity on SoundCloud. And he kept staying consistent, dropping his EP Beware of the Book of Eli, and he created lots of friends through the artists he actually did work with, Lil Pump, Trippie, and especially X, and obviously Juice WRLD, as soon as he rose to fame, Ski Mask and Juice clicked instantly, which actually did lead to a tour together and almost a collab tape called Evil Twins. But after the unfortunate passing of X and Juice, this actually has had a pretty big impact on Ski Mask's mental health. Obviously Ski hasn't been consistent when it comes to dropping music, as the last thing he actually did drop was his album Sin City mixtape in 2021, and since then, as it's been 3 years, he actually teases a project dropping almost every year. But he actually is dropping an album this year, hopefully, as it's called 11th Dimension, and the features sound absolutely crazy, bro. And there's Yeet, Doja Cat, maybe Travis Scott, Juice WRLD. It's really crazy to see how many crazy connections Ski has actually built in his career, as well as how much of an insane loyal fanbase Ski has curated. I know I actually did leave out a few artists named in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys do want a part 2. Appreciate you guys for making it to the end of the video, man. It's been your boy Amchann, and I'm out. Peace.